Hello. Um, I've been working on trying to articulate my issue with the popular notion of sexual modesty in the United States of America. And I just looked at my video and I made a take on it. And I started to listen to it. And it gave me some ideas on how to make the communication more clear, more concise. So in this hopefully brief presentation, I want to describe my issues with sexual modesty in America. I also want to introduce the sexual double standard that pertains to the straight community, not the lesbian and gay community, and it's between obviously straight men and straight women. Okay, that double standard is part of my objection toward the popular notion of sexual modesty, which is generally inferred as, I would give you what we mean by sexual modesty. Based on how I perceive the projection of sexual modesty through the media and through our society, would be in general sexuality that is only expressed in a loving relationship, or in a relationship that will lead to a loving relationship. Okay, so either of those 2 points. So sexual modesty is sexuality, sex that is expressed in the context of a loving relationship, or a relationship that will lead to a loving relationship. I hope that is as concise as I can possibly be. And it does, in general, intimate monogamy. And not monogamy just necessarily in vaginal intercourse, but sexual interaction, and sometimes even sexual thoughts. Now, in saying that, in the modesty moral axiom, men and women who violate, or who are perceived to violate this moral axiom, are perceived differently. Okay? The theme or the constant in either the male indiscretion or the female indiscretion of sexual modesty is the treatment and the respect of women. Now, there are some exceptions. There are people that will sometimes mention men disrespecting their bodies, disrespecting themselves, dishonoring themselves. Yes, there are times. We have to give credit to probably the evangelical Protestants. They make some effort in trying to equalize this. Although I disagree with their moral system completely, but I will give them credit that that at least in their belief in their moral axiom, they're trying to at least make the attempt to exercise the intimation that one who engages or who violates sexual modesty is disrespecting themselves. It's not just the woman. However, in secular and even some religious, moderate domains of sexual modesty, the gender who is disrespected is the woman. Okay? The claim is always made in that manner. And it doesn't matter if it is absolutely conclusively proven that the woman wants to have casual sex or wants to express her sexuality outside of a loving, committed context where it is reflective of romantic love. Okay, doesn't matter. She is still disrespecting herself. The man who who violate sexual modesty in expression and in relation to straight women violate sexual modesty by expressing sexuality outside the context of a loving relationship, or a context that will lead to a loving relationship, or has the intention to lead to a loving relationship. That man is called a womanizer. He is victimizing women. He is disrespecting women. He is dishonoring women. Remember, the agents of disrespect can be men and women, but the bottom line is this: the victim of disrespect and dishonor is always the woman. Is this perception true? Is this a moral truth? Can this type of moral theme, can this be validated? I don't think so. I think it's a mythology. I think that if you grant that, and I don't grant, if you grant that sexual modesty is a valid moral claim, and that an agent that violates sexual modesty disrespects their body, then the two consensual moral agents that engage in a sexual act both equally disrespect their body and disrespect themselves. But clearly that is not the case when you hear moral criticism. When you hear moral criticism of Miley Cyrus, you will hear that Miley Cyrus is disrespecting herself. And as a matter of fact, she's disrespecting women. And she's dishonoring women. Here's where the double standard, here's the difference where the double standard and the weight is heavier on women. And overall, women do carry the burden of this double standard. Women are treated harsher. And the reason is very simple. It's not because the woman is violating or disrespecting the man in the moral mythology of sexual modesty. It is because she's honoring other women when she disrespects herself. Now, how does that happen? How can that possibly happen? How can an individual that is separate from a group magically disrespect the honor of every single woman by being sexually immodest? How does that happen? I would like to hear the moral arguments that this is pretty damn obvious, because that is how it is promoted in our society. It's promoted as a no-brainer. How does Miley Cyrus, who quote-unquote disrespects herself, magically disrespects and dishonors women, so therefore this justifies, or this explains why people like Dr. Laura are harsher on women? I don't know if she necessarily uses that explanation. She may have, but it's weird. And it's very bizarre. So that is one part of the moral problem, one part of the issue I have with sexual modesty. Now let's go to the male side. The man who is sexually immodest, like for example, if like I think his name's Alan Thicke, was grinding Miley Cyrus, okay, in that MTV award ceremony, he wouldn't be disrespecting himself. He would be disrespecting women. You notice, women, not just one woman, women as a group magically get disrespected and dishonored by Alan Thicke's act. So this is where you see this is where you see, in some sense, or in one context, you can see where men, the double standard is weighted toward men. But the double standard weighted toward men or against men in this context is only in the context that the man is the violator of a particular woman, or and he can also be a violator of the women in general, because what happens is if a man is sexually immodest, and if one of the rules or presupposed of this immodesty is to, I don't know, sleep, have casual one-night stands or hookups, that man is dishonoring every single woman. He's not dishonoring. You're not dishonoring one person. Okay. See, in the gay community, if you sleep around with a bunch of men, you don't dishonor men. You don't disrespect men. You don't degrade men. If men are seen as sex objects in the gay community, it's not degrading to men. It's maybe degrading to the particular men in that group, particular men that you're sexualizing, which I fundamentally disagree. But magically in the straight community, you objectify one woman, you objectify all of them. That is part of the double standard. It cannot be explained. It's fundamentally wrong. It's a false perception. It's not an I don't think it's an interpretation. I know that apologists will sit there and say that I'm reading into it too much. I'm not reading into it. I'm just stating it as it is. That's what it is. Now let's listen to some of the common defenses or explanations that somewhat try to defend this type of mythological perception. The first one is that women are monogamous. They are choosy. They are very selective of their partners, and they take sex very seriously. And sexuality must be within a loving relationship. And so anything else, in their point of view, would be that you are using this person, and it's very painful to them. No, that viewpoint is a bias. Well, first of all, even if that viewpoint is true, that still doesn't justify the double standard. Why should you? It's almost like you're projecting it's a group. First of all, it's not an absolute worldview. Okay, you're talking about groups of people. You're talking about a general tendency. You can't not say that every single woman shares that view. And if a majority of women share that view, that does not mean that the majority of those women should impose their view of how sex should be upon the women who do not share that view. Okay, so just because somebody believes in this modesty doesn't validate the modesty. You haven't shown that the modesty is a valid moral axiom. Just because one group disproportionately believes in it doesn't demonstrate it. So that first objection is gone. The second objection toward my perception is that, or second justification is that, well, it's pretty much similar to the first explanation, is that based on these differences of how since women take sex more seriously and it's more symbolic and more meaningful, then men have to treat sex in that manner because this will hurt women. Because men taking sex not at the same level as women hurts women, and it really psychologically damages them. So therefore, men have to view sexuality as how they treat women, not how they treat themselves. Well, first of all, again, you're using a presupposition, a gender presupposition, to establish these moral themes. First of all, you don't know every man, and yes, in general, in group norms, perhaps men do take sex less seriously in the context of it being symbolic of an emotional commitment. But there are men who do take it seriously. Okay? that still doesn't prove anything. Even if men do take it seriously, their taking it seriously doesn't prove that it is a moral axiom that sex should be taken seriously, and everybody else and people should have the perception of sexuality that that the contemporary moral society has. The thing is that it still doesn't. In both of these explanations, still fail to explain why Miley Cyrus allegedly being sexually immodest innately dishonors all of womanhood, dishonors every single woman. That Miley Cyrus is disproportionate. Miley Cyrus is symbolic of female chastity. It's magically. And her disrespect and her sexual immodesty affects all women. While on the other side, if a man does the same thing, his act does not dishonor men. It may dishonor women, but it may dishonor women because, again, any sexual immodesty toward one female individual dishonors every one of them. Because they say you have no, people have said this, if you have casual sex with women, you are a philanderer. You don't have respect for women. Period. Not those type of women. Not the women that you're having sex with. Every single woman. It is a general perception that sexuality becomes the symbol of a general perception. If you know how to use sex to treat women, then it's the general judgment is that you don't have a clue on how to treat women. Period. I mean, it's just that simple. And I want to know the evidence why. Show us the evidence. Where's the evidence that shows this? I don't see it. Because here's the thing. A gay man, he can have sex. I don't want to get into these stereotypes because there's a lot of gay men that don't have sex with a whole bunch of there's a lot of gay men that are monogamous and they're not, they just don't have sex with every single man they see. So it's somewhat of a stereotype. But let's just assume there's a gay man that has sex with a lot of men. There's a gay man that has a lot of sex with a lot of men. He's highly promiscuous. He doesn't disrespect men. First of all, he doesn't disrespect men. People won't say that he's a manizer. First of all, they won't say he's a manizer. They won't say that he's disrespecting men. And he won't be demonized. Look at some of these reality shows. Do you see any gay man being reprimanded by a straight person, unless they're homophobic, of course, conservative homophobic, of course? But have you ever seen a straight person that is not homophobic condemn a straight man who is promiscuous, or a lesbian that is promiscuous? Not at all, because that does not count in the lesbian and the gay community. So this moral axiom is cherished in the straight community. And that's not to say that I'm saying lesbians are having sex with everybody. I mean, that stereotype is that they're monogamous, but obviously there are lesbians that have sex that are promiscuous. Okay. So again, general group descriptions do not validate anything to me. So, again, you notice that, the mythologies in the gay and straight community about this do not exist. I mean, even if we assume the stereotypes of the gay man being promiscuous and lesbians being monogamous, which I don't. Okay. If a woman is, let's say in the lesbian community, a woman is sleeping around or is sexually immodest, she may not necessarily, maybe I'll backtrack. Maybe they will perceive her as disrespecting herself. I'm not really sure, because I think that it would be different because it's in relation to women. I'm saying that I don't know if they necessarily have a moral thing like, oh, if you're a slut, well, you're a bad woman, we can't hang around you. I don't know if they have this moral. I just think that if they are more naturally monogamous, which it has to be demonstrated, but if they are more naturally monogamous, they probably just wouldn't have sex. They would just be naturally monogamous. It wouldn't be a moral imperative. Okay? It wouldn't be a moral imperative or something that you promote as a moral practice. But anyway, still, if you look at gay men in relation to having sex with other men, a gay man has a lot of sex with a lot of men, and if he has gay porn, if he objectifies men as sex objects, this is not seen as, well, you know what, you don't respect men. You don't value men beyond their sexuality. A straight man who does that, no matter what, has the probability, by at least some, to be criticized in that manner. So it's this modesty just pertains to the straight community, I believe. I hope that clears some things up. I think I might have shown a video about this, so I hope this clears some things up. Thanks.